Good evening and welcome, motorsport fans, to the Trackstars Racing Series Touring Cars Championship. We're bringing you back all of the touring car action here. First, starting off with the return of the Trackstars TS2 touring cars for the 10th anniversary, where we're celebrating 10 years of Trackstars racing from 2014. A very small group of drivers before we get ourselves into a huge community that we have right now in the Trackstars Racing Series Discord and Facebook and all of social. So if you want, go drop a link, come say hello to us here on the Discord, as well as giving us a like here on our YouTube channel as well. Trackstars Racing Series bringing you all the live action, or actually we'll say the delayed broadcast of the Trackstars TS2 Touring Cars, where we're bringing you the opening round here at the legendary Nurburgring, famously known as the Green Hell, for the first round of this thrilling season for its 10th anniversary. Get ready for an adrenaline-pumping race as the drivers tackle this daunting 25 kilometers of twists, turns, and elevation changes that makes this track one of the most challenging in the world. The Green Hell is renowned for testing the skills, precision, and endurance of every competitor, and today promises to be no exception for our TS2 drivers. Whether you're a seasoned racing enthusiast or new to the sport, you are in for a treat. Buckle up and stay tuned as we dive into the action and witness some of the best touring car drivers battling it out in what will be a race full of excitement and drama. So, in the commentary box is myself, Nicholas Paltasa, bringing you all the action back onto the Trackstars Racing Series YouTube channel. It has been a while. We have been a little bit away on the Formula Championships in both Main Series Division 2 and Division 3, but we are back to be bringing you all of this occasion of the touring cars for its 10th anniversary. And we welcome you along here on the YouTube channel. So give us a like, subscribe, hit the bell notification when you know that this broadcast is going to be coming out. But it is a Nurburgring 125 as we get ourselves underway, as we have our cars on the track setting their qualifying runs. And I just got word that qualifying has been completed as we are about to get the results underway. Crossing over to our results page, it is the man in the CP Motorsports. What can we say about him? It's Aidan Holton in CP, representing CP Motorsports, Captain Muffin 88 on provisional pole position, with Chris Lashbrook leaving the MSR camp Lexus to join its FR Racing and the Nissan GTR, slapping it on second place alongside his teammate in Jarman Dalitz in third place. Lamb in fourth place, the privateer driver in the Lexus. So the first of the Lexuses in fourth place. So Cochon, Lamb in fourth place. And then we have A Joy in fifth place for the Mashbards Racing, rounding up in fifth place. And then joining him on the third row of the grid is Kennedy in sixth place. Then we have Gordon Scott and Scott Taylor rounding up the fourth grid for WRT Motorsport and WTC Racing, respectively. As we look down further on the grid there, Van Vuren in ninth, Fogarty rounding up the top 10 in the double Lexus fifth row. Tristan Mason, Craig Harcourt rounds up the sixth row of the grid for Kiwi Pit Lane Sim Racing and MC Motorsport, the first of the MC Motorsport cars on the track here tonight, with Liam Hedges and David Scott, Ben Purton, and Scott rounding up the rest of the field there. So 16 drivers here tackling this mammoth track that is this 25 kilometer of the Nurburgring for what is going to be an exciting 5 laps around this track. Can't wait to see what we've got going on as we get ourselves underway very shortly. With 16 drivers ready to go, the revs rise with Aidan Holton and Chris Lashbrook sharing the front rows at all Nissan lockout for the opening round of the 10th anniversary of Trackstars Racing Series. It is 5 red lights and it's lights out. Green flag racing. A great start there by Aidan Holton. Looks like Dallas has had a poor start at the back of the field there, as we can see. Some of the drivers are coming through to gobble him up a little bit. He drops down to P6 at the moment. Contact made between Lashbrook and Lamb in second and third place, but they're both maintaining positions very nicely there. We have Fogarty running up in fourth place, so he's actually made a few positions outside the top 10 and brought himself up towards the front in P4 at the moment. Actually, that's Furby in Joy in fourth place. Then we have Kennedy, Dallas, Gordok, and Scott Taylor rounding up the top 8. But it is Aidan Holton in Captain Muffin the man that is the speed demon in his Nissan GTR. And every time you see those GTR colours, that is in CP colours, you better watch out. You better bring your A game, because Hayden Holton is here to play. He's got himself a bit of a car length ahead of Chris Lashbrook. Scott Taylor has moved up into P7 in the Lexus WTC Racing entry. Very vibrant and very colourful Lexus in the WTC camp. But as he starts leading the way into on the exit of the GP circuit, it is Holton with Lashbrook right behind there. So good car lengths gap between the two of them, and they've actually got themselves a good gap between themselves and Lamb in third place, the first of the Lexus with the other Lexus Enjoy right behind in fourth place. So as we go turning left into the north side, normally you turn right to finish the GP layout. Here we are turning left and we enter the north side for the first time. Past Sabine Smith's corner and down through the Huston back. Here we go with Caden, with Captain Muffin leading the way ahead of Chris and ahead of Lamb, rounding up our top three. See the cars filing through very nicely there. Furby Enjoy running up very nicely in P4. Kennedy has made himself a few good positions. He's actually helped maintain position in fifth place. The biggest loser out of that so far is Dallas, down in sixth place from third to sixth. So a lot of work for Dallas to do. Not the best start that he got, but he's trying to get himself back up towards the front and stay with this lead pack, because he's got himself a good buffer over Scott Taylor down in seventh place. As we look down towards the rest of the field, Aussie Taylor, and then we have Fogarty down in 7th and 8th. Wardock for WRT, the first of the WRT entries, in 9th place, with Tristan Mason rounding up the top 10 with his teammate Van Vuren behind in 11th place. So very easy start there. We can see no moves are going to be made just yet, so we're going to let at this time we'll let our viewers know the format is. It is a 5-lap race here around the Nurburgring 24-hour layout, GP and the Nordschleife combined. One compulsory pit stop needs to be made. It can be for tyres or fuel. Obviously, you don't have to require both of them, so we might be seeing a few drivers going maybe potentially on the stop where they might throw on tyres early, as we see Gordock has had a bit of a mistake up towards in the middle of the Nordschleife, so definitely where you don't want to be making mistakes. And that drops him well down the back there in 15th place. Is his teammate got to join him or get past him? Not just yet. Just see the entry. Oh, there we go. Gordock going around. Not Gordock. We have Tormentor going around there, making a mistake as well. So that's both WRT cars really struggling on this opening lap here. So very, very not the best start for WRT, but they're going to look to try and see if they can claw something back later on in the race. So yeah, so one pit stop is going to need to be made. It's about 75 litres fuel tank that we have for our drivers. So we have been doing all the testing in the background before we have brought this season to life, and we do know that no matter what you do, you are going to have to come into the pit lane and fill the tank up. Whether it's going to be just filling the tank up or throwing on a set of soft tyre or a set of medium tyres at the end and go full sprint, we'll have to wait and see. We might even see some different strategies amongst our competitors here tonight. We'll find out in due course. But it is Aidan Halton over Chris Lashbrook over Lamb in third place, with Joy in fourth, Kennedy and Dallas right behind there in fifth and sixth place. So three of the ITS FR cars rounding up the top six. Chris Lashbrook leading the pack ahead of Kennedy and Dallas in fifth and sixth place. Through the back section, go flying through here, not even getting the foot off the throttle. Only if you're the car behind that goes through all of that dirty air. You do have to lift off, and once you're in clear air, you can just throw that car around the whole section of the track and not even scrape the Armco. As we go through to the carousel for the first time, you can see all the cars filing through here. It's not an easy corner, ladies and gentlemen, not on Gran Turismo 7, as you've got two different hardwares, the wheel and the controller, obviously favoured by some with the controller over the wheel. That the controller does struggle a lot around the carousel. It's not the best car to be executing around the carousel. You actually lose about 7/10 in that section alone, in that corner alone. So I know for myself and a couple of others in the main series, we definitely do find a little bit of struggles when it comes through that section of the track. So back up towards the front. Aiden Holton and Chris Lashbrook has actually closed up massively on Holton here. So this is going to be very key for Lashbrook if he can stay underneath the rear wing of that CP Motorsports 98, because if he does, he can maintain that slipstream all the way down to the Dottinger Straight. And even Lamb behind is keeping very good distance. I'm going to remind our viewers at home, obviously we have been off air with the Formula Track Stars and the Formula 2 and Formula 3. Lamb is actually a driver that's making his return to Division 2. He actually dropped down, demoted himself down to Division 3, which pretty much relinquished his main series entries into his main series eligibility into the main series, and he decided to have a go trying something different, where he just wasn't a big fan of running long laps. But he's now come back up because he is the F3 champion, the reigning F3 champion of 2024, and he's back now into the second division. He's back in his comfort zone in the touring cars, where we saw some really, really great showings from him in both the TS2 touring cars, rounding up in third place behind the eventual winners of Josh Green and Les Sandwith, who are both now racing in the main series for CP Motorsports and WRT respectively. But here comes Chris. He has tucked underneath that rear wing. He's going to go for the lead around the outside on the exit of the Dottinger Straight, leading back onto the GP section. Holton relinquishes that lead because he knows that he can get him back if he stays close to him down into turn 1, and that is Chris Lashbrook for its FR, leading at the end of the opening lap here for the TS2 touring cars. Nurburgring 125-kilometer sprint race, we could say. It's not really much of a sprint because it's a very long track around here, but it is Lashbrook going defensive. Aiden Holton trying to outbrake him. Can't do it just yet. Going for a bit of a switchback moments there. Try and get as much traction as you can on that Nissan. And look at the traction that he's got. He's got the lead back on turn 2. And that is Aiden Holton still going side by side with Chris Lashbrook. Can he hold it around the outside? Does Chris? No, he doesn't. He's going to have to back off a little bit. It is Aiden Holton again taking the lead away from Chris Lashbrook. Beautiful racing here between the two leaders up in first and second place. It's a very nice racing all around the board as well, with Lashbrook in second place. And Lamb didn't get too close to the Nissans on the Dottinger Straight, unfortunately, so really struggled to keep up with the two Nissans ahead of him. But now he's got Joy right behind him, and Kennedy as well as Dallas. So bit of a nice little battle pack here, we could say. It's kind of like the peloton, if you were to refer to Tour de France and cycling terms. You've got yourself a bit of a big gap, a big bunch of drivers here from first to sixth place. But then when we look down the order to where we find Aussie Taylor down in seventh place and Tristan Mason in eighth place, there's a huge gap amongst them. So the top six have run away. We can see there on the outboard that the top six have definitely pulled away from the rest of the field. They're in a league of their own. Scott Taylor rounding up in seventh, Tristan Mason inside the top eight. So very good running, good showing so far in the Kiwi pit lane, with Ben Purton and Liam Hedges rounding up in 9th and 10th place for PH Esports, who are actually, as also we're going to remind our viewers, in the Formula 2 Championship, the PH Esports are the reigning Division 2 teams champion. So they managed to take out the line holders by attending every single race and getting all the points they could. As we say, that Hedges is gone for a bit of a half spin there. Not too much damage on his car, but then I think that secondary impact gave him a lot of damage, unfortunately. So thankfully for the drivers, it is light damage, so they don't have to transit into the pit lane, because, well, if you get damage at the start of the Nordschleife, good luck trying to get around the rest of the track without being in pain and agony and being very slow on the straights and the corners. So lucky for Hedges, he's about 30 seconds of damage before it clears up and goes again. Isaac Fogarty as well has dropped down to 16th place here, so 8-minute 20.8. Obviously it's the opening lap for the Steel City MSR Lexus, but he really struggled there on that lap there. So he must have had a spin. I would say he probably had a spin before he got into the Nordschleife. So he must have had a mistake somewhere in the GP layout that he's dropped all the way down the back there. But I'm not 100% sure, so we'll find out later on the replay cameras off the stream. We'll be able to see what happened to him. But that's unfortunate, because he was running inside the top 8 very nicely, but then drops down to 16th place. He's got a lot of work to do to try and catch these drivers ahead, led by Oldman in Soul Reaper in 10th place. still holding on a good gap between himself and Tristan and Oldman in 10th place. But HBR running very nicely inside 3rd place. They're getting a little bit of pressure from Joy in 4th place. So Joy's actually keeping hold of the rear wing of the HBR in Lamb in 3rd place, and he's also bringing along Kennedy and Dallas behind. So this pack that was a 6-pack could potentially just be the battle for 3rd place. But what we do see up ahead, looks like Chris has made a mistake on that lap going into the Nordschleife, and it looks like he's really struggled to keep hold of Muffin in 1st place. So he's really struggling a little bit to try and close that gap. But we did see on that opening lap, this section past the carousel is where Chris was actually a little bit faster than Holton. So I wonder if Holton's just managed to cool down a little bit, maybe just plan the next few corners and try and see if he can build that gap to well over 1 second, 2 seconds at least. Because the dirty air is very strong around here as well, ladies and gentlemen. With the dirty air around here, you get yourself in any close proximity, even the gap between Lamb and Lashbrook in 2nd and 3rd place, it is still quite potent enough to feel the dirty air coming off the rear wing of the car ahead of you. You can actually still feel it around this track. It's absolutely horrible. Down through the carousel, through the bowl on the 2nd time of asking. Lamb takes it very nicely there, gets it right on the exit there, and tries to try and straighten the car as much as he could. He's done very nicely there to try and stay very close to Lashbrook in 2nd place. But going back onto the fact of the dirty air, you definitely feel it even when you are 2 seconds, say, behind the car in front of you, because when you start to close up and you start to reel the driver in ahead of you, you just feel that wash, and you start to feel a lot of lazy understeer with the Lexus and Nissan respectively. So all he's going to try and do is he'll only want to catch Lashbrook when the time is right, when the section of the track is right, especially towards the back end when he gets to the Dottinger straight. So that's where you want to be. That's where you want to set yourself up to get yourself a very good slipstream down the Dottinger, and then leading yourself into the final corners before the main straight of the GP layout. Looks like he's pulled away from Joy in 4th place. So Joy's actually lost a bit of touching ground to HBR in those last few corners, which is now allowing its FR drivers in Kennedy and Dallas to get closer to the man in 4th place and look to try and see if they can find any solution to try and stay close to him when it comes down to the Dottinger straight. Still down the back there, Aussie Taylor, Tristan Mason rounding up in 7th and 8th place. Still running very close quarters there amongst those drivers. I'm just so impressed to see how the top 6 have just pulled away. They've worked together. They haven't done anything silly. They've worked together. They know the pace of the race, and they know the pace that Aiden is pulling up ahead. So they know that they don't want to go for silly moves. They don't want to be overdriving the car too much. The Nissan GTR GT500 and the Lexus RCF GT500. They're not really overdriving these cars. They're driving the cars to the limits of where they can push it and extend the gap, because all these cars are halfway down the Dottinger straight, and we can see in the background on the track map, Aussie Taylor is on the Dottinger straight right now. So the gap is huge between 6th and 7th place. You can see there with the 420 of Aussie Taylor right down to 7th place. You can't even see the cars over the hump as they leave the Dottinger straight. So so well done to the top 6 of really stretching that margin and not really fighting each other too much, which is really good to see. While we saw a lot of battle packs down the back end of the field, we didn't see too much on the front. But if there were battle packs at the front, it was all done at the GP layout. Look back down here, Van Vuren's coming under pressure from Ben Purton. He doesn't get that slipstream effect, but we have Gordon Scott in Gordock right behind in 11th place. This will be a nice little battle as they come onto the GP layout. Who's going to be the brave one to throw it down the inside of the second last corner, or set themselves up for the first corner of the GP layout? No one's going to make a move just yet. Stay close to them, because you're going to get a really good exit on the final corner leading onto this pit straight. Van Vuren's got himself a bit of a buffer, but Purton is going to come under pressure from Gordock, who might just have a little bit more straight line advantage over the Lexus drivers. So can he think about throwing the nose into turn 1? He thinks about it, he shows the nose, but he's not close enough to make any movements there. He closes up onto the rear end of the PAG Sports driver in person, but nothing doing just yet as we're on lap 3 or 5 of this event here, the Nurburgring 125. Man, I love this track so much. Such a great track around here, especially the GP layout. If you can get this section right, that'll lead you perfectly onto the Nordschleife, and you can get yourself a good gap in that first section. You've set yourself up for the rest of the race, which is really good. But then it's all about just trying to keep the car on the tarmac, because as easy as some would think, executing the Nordschleife and as best as you can, it does take a lot of skills, and it does take a lot of track knowledge to really understand how this track layout works, because not every corner is the same. There's more than 170 corners around this track as well. So 170 corners to remember. If you're James May, you're going to forget every single corner, what's coming up next and what's the corner after that. So if you don't have the memory of James May and you know every single corner around this track, then fantastic. That's why you're at the front of the pack. But those that look to be struggling a little bit, Old Man down in 13th. We did see a mistake there from Fogarty, who's running down in 14th. Hedges, we saw a bit of a mistake as he entered the Nordschleife on the previous lap down in 15th. And then we have Tormentor in Scott running down in 16th and last place. So he's in the middle of the GP layout, while we see Aidan Holton well clear into the Nordschleife. He's got himself a really, really good gap over Chris Lashbrook. So this is where track knowledge is going to become very handy for the Nissan driver for leading the charge for CP Motorsports. Looks like he's the only man for CP Motorsports. Unfortunately, their secondary driver has not been able to make the event tonight, and he's only going to be the sole representative of representing CP Motorsports. So if he takes the full points for CP Motorsports, that'll be a huge win for Aidan Holton. But we do have a lot of racing to go, ladies and gentlemen. Even though it's only 5 laps around here, trust me, 25 kilometers is such a very long time to be spending your time around this track. So brace yourself, because it's going to be an exciting, thrilling end with 2.5 laps to go at the end of this. But HPR's got himself running very solo in the first little Lexuses with Joy right behind him, 4th place. But Joy's still holding on to him. We know Lamb is a very strong driver. He did have a couple of outings. He did have one outing actually last year in the Sanquhar 1500. He really had a very good go representing the car 11 of Mashabards Racing, the Lexus. He had a very tough time at the beginning, as I know, as a team boss of MSR. He did struggle a little bit in that opening stint, but as soon as he got to the next few stints when he was in the car, he managed to excel with absolutely flying colours, and he managed to beat his own personal bests and personal records with the car as well. So he managed to find his feet a lot quicker than what you could say with a driver that is coming into the main series for the first time. So we will be seeing some broadcasting of the main series very shortly, and very soon we'll let our viewers know. But if you do want to know when that is coming up, hit the bell notification and subscribe to Trackstars Racing Series, where you'll be able to find all of the delayed broadcasts of the TS2 and the main series and TS3 Touring Cars Championship. As we say that, we've got Kennedy right ahead of Dallas. Dallas looks like he's got a little bit more pace here. So what do we think about the team orders here? Dallas throwing the nose in, so he's trying to stay patient. He wants to push. He's trying to push Kennedy to close up to Joy, but I think Joy is starting to pull a little bit clear of the Nissans in 5th and 6th place. So Dallas looks like he's got a little bit more traction, a little bit more speed in the 95 compared to the 14 of Kennedy. So I wonder if team orders might come into play as they get towards the Dottingham straight, and maybe a bit of a swap, or we are on lap 3 or 5, so we could potentially even see an undercut from Dallas. So he might be able to come in 2 laps earlier, maybe throw on a new fresh set of tyres, and maybe just fill the tank up right up to the end when you need 2 more laps of racing around this track. So we'll wait and see what happens there. As we see there, but there's no team orders now there. Unfortunately for Kennedy, throws it into the arm coal, no fault of his own, just a mistake, got too much on the curbing, and the car just went spearing off into the Armco. A little bit of damage on the 14, but it looks like he's just able to maintain it for now. Thankfully, he's got a huge gap between himself and Scott Taylor in 7th place, but that's a costly mistake there by Canada. He didn't want to give the position up just yet. He was still fighting hard, but unfortunately for him, a little bit too much more than what he could chew, and Dallas comes through cleanly into 5th place. So as we can see there with Holton, still on the 3rd lap there as he comes up towards the Dottingham straight. Got himself a really nice gap over Lashbrook. That looks to be about, we can say, roughly about an 8-second gap between Holton and Lashbrook, 1st and 2nd place. So this will still be enough to maybe even he might even think about coming into the pit lane at the end of this lap. But with the pace that he's got, 7 minutes 28, the 2nd lap's not really a representative lap time. You have to always wait for that 3rd lap, especially around this track, to know what your pace is like. So we'll wait and see as he crosses the timing sector now what his lap time is. It's 0.7 down on his own fastest lap there. So I wonder what he's going to do here. Does he come into the pit lane and just do either a splash and dash or throw on some fresh set of medium tyres? Tank at your disposal. So we'll wait and see if he does actually come in for tyres or just fuel, with Aidan Holton leading the way coming up towards the end of lap 3 to start lap 4. Let's see what he does. Does he point the car right or does he keep it left? He keeps it left. He's doing one more lap, so he's going to try and just, all he wants to do, he wants to do that last lap. But Chris Lashbrook has come into the pit lane, so he's the first to blink to try and undercut on Captain Muffin. And actually, as we have Joy has come through into the pit lane, we have Kennedy coming into the pit lane as well. So very interesting strategies here. We might see an undercut from Lashbrook, even though he was a fair way back behind Muffin. He does change tyres as well. So does Joy. He's also changing his tyres. Let's see what Kennedy does. He's also going for a tyre change. So it looks like those mediums are starting to wear out a lot more than what we anticipated. Aussie Taylor comes into the pit lane in 7th place with a little splash and dash. We've got 40 litres for Kennedy as he exits out the pit lane. So Aussie Taylor, Tristan Mason in the pit lane. So the pit lane action is all go, with drivers coming into the pit lane except for the top 3. Aidan Holton, Lamb and Dallas still staying out on track. Could this, who knows what the strategy could be? Could that be a winner? Would the change of tyres be a winner for Lashbrook? Could he gain some time on Captain Muffin? We'll find out in due course as they come into the pit lane at the end of lap 4 to start the final lap of lap 5. But this is a very bold strategy because everyone looks to be coming into the pit lane as well. So really, really interesting to see what the strategy, how it's going to all pan out at the end of this, as we see Aidan Holton entering the Nordschleife for the 4th time in succession. Lamb right behind in P2, and Dallas in 3rd place, with the man that's made his first pit stop, Chris Lashbrook, rounding up in 4th place. Let's see if we can ride on board with Jarman Dallas running up in position 3 for the ITS FR Racing. Let's see what the roller coaster is. That is the Nurburgring. You can just see the cars bouncing and gliding through the corners here as they get to the Hasselback. And as we get into the section here, just takes that curve. The car steps out a little bit. He makes a mistake of it, makes a meal out of the corner as he gets to this back part of this fast back section of the track. You can just hear the engine notes just squealing in 6th gear. So you just watch these cars as they come down the hill here. You're going to see these cars going to be banging on the rev limiter. Listen out. Yeah, there you go. Just touching the rev limiter there. It's just bouncing and bouncing. It sounds deafening in there, but it's a great sound to be in the Nissan GTR or the Lexus RCF, plucking down the gears down to 2nd gear, short shifting into 3rd, and get yourselves ready for another roller coaster. So that's a nice insight there of what the drivers are seeing from the cockpit of the Nurburgring. Dallas running up in 3rd place in a good gap between himself and Lamb, and Lashbrook right behind. But Lashbrook's not too far behind. With fresh tyres, he'll be able to close the gap to Dallas pretty quickly, pretty soon. Maybe towards the back end of the Nordschleife, you might be able to see that 95 rear wing and have a go and try and make any moves and try and get as close as he can before he can get closer to Aidan Holton in 4th place. Lashbrook in 4th, Joy in 5th, Kennedy 6th, Aussie Taylor 7th, Tristan Mason rounding up the top 8 with Craig Hardcore rounding up in 9th, and Gordon Scott rounding up the top 10, Van Vuren 11th, Isaac Fogarty in 12th. Then down the pack there we will also see Burton, Hedges, and a couple of the other drivers. There was Oldman as well. Unfortunately, down the back there is Tormentor, which I believe is actually his second time running in the TS2 touring cars. He was a graduate from TS3 as well, so most of these drivers are TS3 or F3 graduates. We saw there with Burton and Hedges, they were graduates from the F3 last year. With Burton winning the F3 championship and also bringing his mate in Hedges into TS2, so not keeping the record, not keeping the cars in Division 3 for TS3. They actually made the jump and made the switch to the TS2 touring cars in light of having a go and having a good crack at racing what is the best of the best in Division 2. And they're doing pretty well. Both of them have actually received main series eligibility as well. So with Burton's eligibility coming at the high speed ring 250, he actually managed to cross the line in 5th place on the last lap as well. That's how he managed to get his main series eligibility. Hedges got his in the Formula 2 last time out in the off-season there, but contact made between Van Vuren and Gordock. Is there any one onto the barriers? No, they've actually escaped there. So luckily for Gordock not to dive into the tyre barriers, and Van Vuren counted his lucky stars there to not have any mistakes or not to be punished any more than that from the stewards room. So very lucky there for Van Vuren to let off the throttle and gift Gordock and keep that gap between himself and Gordock in 10th place and 11th place respectively. But yeah, as I was saying, there's a lot of graduates coming from Formula 3 and TS3 into the Division 2. And we're seeing some really good driving as well. These guys have really honed in their skills and they've really developed their skills in Division 3 that they can translate into Division 2. Some would have a slow start, most would be able to pick it up pretty quickly, but then you've also got drivers and veterans like Dallas in 3rd place, who is a 4-time Track Stars Touring Cars champion. He knows the game like it's the back of his hand, so he knows exactly what to expect when it comes to a Division 2 racing, when it comes to TS2 racing, with all that experience and all the championships that he's managed to pick up in the main series over the years, celebrating our 10th anniversary here at Track Stars Racing Series. We can see there the cars looking very nicely painted up as well. We can see the CP Motorsports have gone for a different colour scheme to what we saw last time out in 2024 with their patinate blue and white, their metallic blue and white liveries, and have gone for the Aussie Tyre sponsorship with paint drips around the outside, so the black and yellow paint drips with the major sponsor of Aussie Tyres on the side of the car and on the nose cone as well. And then we also have with Lamb sporting new colours going from that rose red, from that cherry red, or racing, what we used to call it was red apple racing, I believe it was called. And he's managed to throw in a bit of blue on his car as well, so a bit of a nice homage there to his, what we can say as well, to his country's colours as well. But lap 4, we're at the end of it. The top 3 need to come into the pit lane. Let's see what Holton does. He will come into the pit lane, but what does he do? What do the CP boys do? What is their strategy? 1% of fuel left in that Nissan GTR, so he was cutting it fine there. Will that cost him? Could that cost him the lead of the race if with that 1% of fuel? We'll wait to see where Lashbrook is. Lashbrook is coming up towards the end of the Dottingham Straight. What does Holton do when he comes into the pit lane? No tyre change, it's just fuel going into the CP Motorsports entry. As he comes out of the pit lane, how much is going to put 21 litres on the car? That's a very smart strategy. Then Lamb, the same as well. No fuel, no tyres going on the Lexus and Dallas as well. So that extra lap that the drivers came in, Lashbrook and Joy, changing tyres, thinking that they might be able to make the undercut work, looks like they've just been undercut themselves. They've just been overcut by the drivers ahead of them. Lamb rounds up in P2. Dallas has lost the position up to Lashbrook in P3. But we're setting ourselves up for a great finale here. Aiden Holton's checked out on the final lap here of the Nurburgring 125, bringing you the opening round of the 10th anniversary of the Trackstars TS2 Touring Cars Championship. Aiden Holton leads the way ahead of Lamb, ahead of Lashbrook, ahead of Dallas, and Joy rounds up our top 5. But the battle that we want to see, and we want to keep our eyes on as the race goes on, is the battle for P2. Chris Lashbrook and Lamb rounding up in P2. Wow, this is going to be a spicy way to finish up your racing here. Your racing action here at the Nurburgring with main series coming up very soon. We'll let our viewers know, we'll let our Discord members know when that is going live. But this is a action that you do not want to miss. The battle for P2. It's going to be spicy, and we're not even on the Nordschleife just yet. We're just about to finish up the GP layout as the drivers are coming into the chicane, into the fast chicane, not the slow and lazy chicane that we normally see on the GP layout. This is the best chicane that you can get on the Nurburgring. And then coming through, turning lefts onto the Nordschleife for the last time. The 82 battling the 11. Who's going to come out in P2? We'll find out in due course. But it is Aiden Holton that leads the way with a huge and a clear margin in P1. That rounds up that field. So all he needs to do, just drive the car to a number, drive it safely, and you'll get the car, and you'll see the car to the checkered flag. He's got enough fuel in the car. We saw it was 21 litres. 20 litres is actually the kind of depletion that we're seeing with these cars. So very interesting as well. You're losing 20 litres on a 25 kilometre circuit. So very, very interesting numbers there. Some numbers for the main series to keep an eye out as well, because all the fuel and the tyre degradation are the same for both series in both Division 3, Division 2 and the main series. But Dallas has got the jump on Joy in 4th place as well. So we did see him drop from 3rd place down to 6th. Was stuck behind his teammate in Kennedy before Kennedy made a mistake coming up towards the end of the Nordschleife, which gifted Jarman a solid P5. And then with an overcut strategy with not changing tyres, has got himself ahead of people. Lamb runs it onto the grass. He's lost a bit of time to Lashbrook. Lashbrook's going to be licking his lips, and he's going to want to hope that he makes more mistakes here. Dirty tyres will come onto that Lexus. Let's see if he can pull the car up straight and just take it easy through this section. He does. Nicely done there by both Lashbrook and Lamb. He runs the car wide. Lashbrook with a narrow entry. Can he think about a move coming up very shortly? There's very limited opportunities to make a move here. But he's right underneath that rear wing. Can he pull the car left and go for the inside? Lamb goes defensive. Lashbrook tries to hold it around the outside. Can't do it there. Not much room on the exit. And they're just going to have to go single file just a little bit longer. But Lashbrook has got a very good exit there. Does he show the nose? He shows the nose, but there's no way through. Lamb is really struggling on that Lexus, and Chris is flying in the It's FR Nissan GTR. He's thrown the nose in as we go on board, and contact made between the two drivers, just backing off a little bit. So close, such close racing for P2. This is great to see. A little bit of a tank slapper there for Lashbrook on the exit, which gives HBR a bit of a gap, a little bit of breathing space just for now before they get into the back section, into one of the many, well, not so straight sections of the Nurburgring. Going to set himself up for this next part of the track. Just stay close to him because he might be able to make a move before you get to the carousel for the last time. But Chris Lashbrook flying in his new colours at It's FR Racing, getting himself he's on P3 at the moment, on track to score P2 on debut for It's FR. That could be a very welcoming debut for Chris Lashbrook, who just narrowly missed out on getting himself into the top 3 in the Formula 2 Championship. But he'll be looking to make a statement here in TS2, looking to win his first championship in TS2 in the brand new colours. But here we go. How close is he to Lamb in that Lexus? He's got quite a bit of a gap there, but it looks like Lamb may have gone a little bit wide on the fast kink on the left-hander as they come towards the bowl very shortly for the last time through the carousel. They're going to approach. Aiden Holton's executed that. He's well clear. We don't want to keep our eyes on. We'll keep an eye on him when it comes to the checkered flag. But this is the one we want to see. Lamb and Lashbrook, the battle for P2. Dallas, Joy, Kennedy, Ozzy Taylor, and Tristan Mason rounding up the top 8. That'd be a great result there for Tristan if he can keep it inside 8th place at the end of the race here. That'd be great to see the Kiwi pit lane driver right inside the top 8. I think that'll be his personal best when it comes to TS2 racing around the Nurburgring. But Chris is flying, and he's got to remember as well, viewers, he is on the freshest tyres. He actually changed tyres. Lamb did not. So Lamb is running on worn mediums, and Lashbrook has a fresh set. So he's got a lap and a bit extra temperature on that car that managed to close the gap to Lamb, but Lamb got the overcut with the fuel. So Lamb is on 5-lap-old tyres, and Chris is only on 2-lap-old tyres. So the fresh set, in theory, should get past Lamb, but time is running out for Lashbrook. He owns this last section to negotiate, and then it's all up to how close you can get on the Dottinger straight. If you can get yourself within a second, you are setting yourself up for a pass into the last section of the Nordschleife as you go into the GP layout. But Lamb doing a fantastic job on his return to Division 2 racing here in TS2 touring cars, showing what he's made of, showing where he left off in season 2023. Runs it wide as they get to the second carousel, the mini carousel for the last time. Runs it a little bit wide there too. Chris Lashbrook getting himself a very good exit. It's all about trying to stay within this second, and I think he's done it as well, ladies. I think he's within that second. But Lamb is throwing that Lexus, and now you just hope and pray, get rid of that dirty air. Lamb is struggling a little bit. Lashbrook is right underneath that rear wing. He's going to wait there. The indicator's thrown off. He's saying, I can't do this anymore. I know you've got more speed than me. But Lashbrook gets the move done into P2. Lamb's going to tuck right underneath that rear wing and try and see if he can get it back as they get onto the last section of the track. We'll cut to that very shortly, but what a race it has been for Aidan Holton and CP Motorsports. Captain Muffin, our favourite choc chip Muffin, is coming through the last couple of quarters here, and he's about to win the opener of the Trackstars TS2 Touring Cars Championship season 2024, celebrating its 10th anniversary. It is Aidan Holton, P1. As we go down, it is Chris Lashbrook, who has just fended off from HBR, rounds up in position 2. HBR in Lamb, 3rd place on his return to TS2 Touring Cars. Jarman Dalitz, after a shocking start, gets himself some consolatory points in P4. And on debut, Joy gets his first main series eligibility in that race. And 5th place for Joy, well done to him. Unfortunately for Kennedy, rounds up in 6th place. So both HBR and Joy get their main series eligibilities for touring cars. So if there are team managers out there that need a reserve driver, watch out for those two. Those two will be hot on the market if a driver is away. Aussie Taylor in 2nd place, a lonely 7th place here. Kind of being what it's like throughout the whole race for Aussie Taylor, but still a very nice way to make your return to touring cars action for season 2024. Finishes up in position 7 for WTC Racing. So well done to Aussie Taylor. He can be happy with that. Unfortunately, not enough to keep up with the top 6. Tristan Mason and Gordock in 8th and 9th place. Well done to both drivers. The WRT driver actually gaining some grounds there. We did see him make a mistake on the opening lap, so he was actually facing the wrong way at one point in the Nordschleife and managed to get himself inside the top 10. So well done to Gordock. Van Vuren and then Craig Harcourt just misses out for MC Motorsport at the outside of the top 10. And then we have Isaac Fogarty in 12th place. Ben Purton behind in 13th. Oldman, Hedges and Tormentor in Scott rounds up the rear of the field there. So not the start that PH Esports wanted. The reigning Formula 2 champions, teams champions in Purton and Hedges, not what they want to start out here at the Nurburgring Nordschleife for the Trackstars TS2 Touring Cars Nurburgring 125. Crosses the line in 13th place. Oldman in Scott in 14th place. Hedges, and then as we see Hedges there flipping the Armco there as well. So definitely not how you want to be finished a race here in the Nurburgring 125 there. And unfortunately for Scott, he's well far back to catch up to anybody. But what a race that was to bring the opening round of the Trackstars TS2 Touring Cars, and to welcome back our viewers here on the Trackstars Racing Series YouTube channel. What a way to bring back racing here at Trackstars with a thrilling race at the Nurburgring for the Nurburgring 125. Aidan Holton, your victor, and 300 big points going to CP Motorsports. Chris Lashbrook on debut for its FR finishes up in P2, and Lamb rounds up in third place on his return to Division 2 racing. Jarman Dalitz and Joy rounds up fourth and fifth place. Kennedy, Scott Taylor, and Tristan Mason in eighth place. The fastest lap actually went to Aidan Holton there as well. No surprise. Are we surprised, ladies and gentlemen? I don't think so. 7 minutes 29.768 for Aidan Holton, the fastest man in TS2 around the Nurburgring. So what a race this has been for our drivers here tonight. Some stunning racing, some great racing as well between Lashbrook and Lamb in third place. As we look down the grid, it is Gordon Scott and Van Vuren rounding up the top 10. Craig Harcourt, Isaac Fogarty, Ben Purton, David Scott, Liam Hedges, and Ben Scott rounding up the rear of the second page of the results. But that is it, ladies and gentlemen. What an opening thriller it has been here at Trackstars Racing Series, welcoming our viewers, and what a way to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Trackstars Touring Cars Championship with a thrilling race here at the Nurburgring. And what a better occasion to set yourself up for a championship, for a 10th anniversary of the championship racing. What a way to mark the first time, if it's your first time racing in TS2 touring cars, or if you're here watching for the first time at Trackstars for the TS2 touring cars. What a way to open up your campaign in season 2024. And for Holton, he'll be wanting to make sure he comes every round, because if he keeps doing that, it's going to be clean sweeps galore for the 98 in CP Motorsports. But we'll wait and see how the championship unfolds, because you never win it on the first round, you win it until you get to the 9th round, which will be at Dragon Trail for the finale in December 8. But the next time we will see the TS2 touring cars will be at the Sardinia 250 in Italy at the Sardinia road course. 2 races of 12 laps around Sardinia A. What an exciting one that's going to be for the drivers there. A new track to Trackstars touring cars as well. So the first time we'll be seeing that track used in throughout all the divisions as well. But that is it. We'll see you guys then until round 2. In the meantime, if you haven't already, hit the bell notification, subscribe to Trackstars Racing Series, like and share what you have seen, what you have witnessed here on the Trackstars Racing Series YouTube channel. If you haven't already and you do want to get yourself involved in the TS2 Touring Cars Championship, it's not too late to sign up. There's a Discord link right below, and like us on Facebook as well, where you can also see all the news and all the information that have been brought to you on the World Wide Web, as well as joining our Discord at the same time. So thank you for tuning in on behalf of myself and Nick Patasa. Thank you for so much for welcoming you guys back into the stream, and welcoming you back onto your screens at home. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be back, and I cannot wait for the remainder of the TS2, the TS3, and the main series. But that is it for now. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.